Hi, friends. Welcome to episode 27 of the Your Story Within podcast. Today, we're going to talk about creating a resume that gets you hired. And I have Melanie with me to join me today to discuss all the important things you need to have on your resume. You bring her on. Hey,
Hello.
Melanie.
Hi.
Always good to have you with us on Thursday.
Yeah, it's always fun to be here.
All right. So last week, we talked about resumes, but how to make your resume look visually appealing and not be boring, and because you only got that 6 seconds, right? 6 seconds
Right.
to impress whoever's reviewing your resume.
Right. We
So
talked about how to get you noticed. And this week, we're going to
yes,
talk about how to get you hired.
yes. So it's all about the words you use on your resume. So we're still going to have that element of visual appeal. We still need to make sure we're consistent. It looks good. We don't want to be boring because that's not going to get you hired. But we want to make sure we're using the right words and not using outdated language. For instance, I'll just give you a quick tip up front. If you're putting references included on your resume, that's going to date you back to about the 1990s, maybe early 2000s, but don't put that on there. If they want your references, they're going to ask for it. It may even be in the application when you upload your resume somewhere. Don't put references. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. So let's do like we did last week, Mel. I think I'm going to bring up the presentation,
Okay.
and then we're just going to kind of run through some things. So
Are we going to follow the 3x3 format for the resume discussion today like we did last week?
Yes. So let me bring that up. Add that here. Yes. I'm saying yes a lot this morning. I need more copy. All right. So before I jump into the 3x3, for those of you who weren't on the podcast, didn't join us last week, this is what a boring resume looks like. This is what a visually appealing resume looks like. We want you to have a visually appealing resume with some really good content. Okay. So I just wanted to keep that up there for those who missed it last week. And then, yes, as Mel said, we're going to talk about the proven 3x3 format again. So we're going to talk about headline, summary, core skills. That's the first three. And then we're going to talk about experience, education, and other, and how we document that, what it should look like, the language we should use.
Right. And again, just to recap last week we went over the 3x3 format, but we talked about how to format it with your fonts and colors and to make it visually appealing. But this week we're going to talk about the content. So
yes, that's absolutely right. I did include at the end of this presentation, I'll show it again for those that weren't able to join last time or haven't had a chance to watch that earlier podcast. I will do a quick, just a visual. I'm not going to discuss it about the different types of common fonts or what they call universal fonts and different font sizes, just so as you're creating your resume, you are making sure that you're using fonts that actually fit on the page nicely and again sticks with that visual appeal, because as you're putting your content on the page, you don't want to have fonts that are not going to be common and used therefore by the reviewers on the other end. If you send something that's a font, I can't think of one that's strange at the moment, but if it's not a common one that comes, say, with Microsoft Word or one of the other word processing programs, well, then you're pretty much guaranteed that whoever opens that resume is not going to have that specialized font, and then it's going to skew the whole resume, so that all that wording you put on there, it's not going to make sense. They're not even going to take the time to look at it. So I will show that.
Things aren't going to line up properly.
Exactly.
Things aren't going to, yeah.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take us off screen so we can maximize this presentation so that everybody can see it. So let me go to big screen here. There we go. And let me get back into the presentation. All right, so 3x3. Let's start with the headline. What should your headline look like? Well, actually, I need to back up. See, I did it again, Melanie. I jump ahead of myself. Before we get into the headline, last week I didn't talk about our contact information. You got to have your contact information on there. How are they going to contact you if it's not there, right? So we also want our contact information to look appealing. Here's the boring one. That's what everybody's putting. There's the name, there's the city, email, phone number. Okay, nothing exciting. Yes, they could contact you, but you want it to pop. You want your name to pop. You want the information to pop, and you want to be memorable. So make it visually appealing. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4 different examples of the same exact contact information. Sally sample, here we go. And this is just shading. There's no boxes. It's all shading and lines. So you don't have to worry about it making through an online tracking system or anything. It will be fine. So make sure good contact information. All right. Now, back to that first 3x3s. I showed this last week, but I want to revisit it. Headline. This is your first item. Make sure it tells the wording you use tells what you're an expert in. So in this case, human resources and training professional. Summary is that second third. What does your summary say? For this one, accomplished leader with 20 years of experience working in challenging and dynamic environments. Honestly, that's a little bit vague. Better to show more detail. So strong HR generalist experience with proven talent in what? What is your proven talent in? Is it in payroll? Is it in benefits? Is it in compliance? You want to kind of get more specific on the training side, because you're saying you're an HR professional, but you're also saying you're a training professional. Do you have certifications? What kind of training platforms do you use? Be specific. And I'm going to delve a little deeper, just touching on the 3x3 again. Core skills, list them out. This is how you keyword optimize your resume. So make sure they're items that a recruiter or a hiring authority would search on. So for instance, if you're saying you are an HR professional, then again, what do? Employee relations, that would be a good one. Conflict resolution, onboarding. Do you have the HR certification? Everybody has those kinds of things. Again, we're going to go deeper. I just wanted to bring up a quick snapshot of what we discussed last week as a refresher. Okay, here's more examples of headlines. Professional, higher education, management, programs, services, resources. That's what they're professional in management with. Training. Here's another one. There's several here just to give you an idea, okay? And then additional core skills area. Here's some more. If I scroll back up, you saw the listing there. Now look how you can lay it out differently here. Last week I talked about grouping some of those like skills. So creativity and innovation tend to go together. Internal and external relations, again, goes together. So you can group things that way. Strategic communications, outreach, and public speaking. That's all that communication-centric skills. Now, Sally sample. Sally was in our visually appealing. Look at the very top. I use that one because I want you to see how I pull it together.
Can I ask you a quick question really quick about the, I forgot to ask earlier about the contact information section?
Sure. Go ahead.
Do we do anything special with our contact information? Like other than just getting, like wanting it to stand out like you talked about, but are there certain rules for including your entire address or things like that, different email address rules or are there any rules that we should follow?
No, that's perfect, Mel. No. What you need to be aware of, bring us back on for a minute. What you need to be aware of is because we're global and people work remotely nowadays, you don't have to put your full city, your full address. You just put city and state and maybe a zip code. You don't even need to put the zip code anymore. I could have taken that off actually. It's because nobody's going to send you snail mail anymore. Nobody's going to send you a letter. They're going to email you. If you have LinkedIn, they could message you in LinkedIn. There's so many other ways they can contact you now. They're not going to send you a letter. It takes too long. Just like technology has changed the way we work and live, it has changed how we interact with each other as well. So it processes have been streamlined. So you don't need to include that. For those people who live in one area, but they plan to transition and move somewhere else, you could put both city and state. So I have a lot of people in this area. I'm in Virginia Beach. I have a lot of transitioning military who want to move to North Carolina. Oh, bless you, Mel.
Excuse me. Thank you. I muted myself. So anybody that's just listening to the audio, I was sneezing on camera.
And so you can put Virginia Beach and North Carolina. You can also put willing to relocate. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Mel. Good point in reminding me to share that kind of information.
What about email addresses?
Oh gosh, so here's a good one. I get a lot of people who still use AOL, Hotmail. What do you think that does when you use those types of outdated email? Even if you're still using them, they still exist.
Yeah.
What message do you think that sends to recruiters and hiring authorities?
Yeah.
So the message
is not staying current with the times.
Exactly. You're not staying current because hate them or like them, Google is the prominent email provider. When you can have Google accounts, but you can also, I'll take it from even a business perspective. I can create a Google email for my business that's very business centric. It's just used for so many other purposes that Gmail is just it. It's synced to so many different things. So anyway, you're going to want to stick with something that's more common and relatable today in Google. So stick with Gmail. If
your email address is like beachbabe79 create a professional email address.
Yes.
It's just for, your just for the job search. Get rid of your beach babe or, Bruins fan, or I don't know why I thought of that. I don't even know what sport that is.
But isn't that hockey? I don't know. Bruins? I was going to say Packers. No, I am a cheesehead from Wisconsin. Sorry.
I know Red Wings are hockey, but and Lions are football and Tigers are baseball. That's all I know. Can you tell where I'm from?
Right. Anyway, good points. Melanie's on fire asking all the good questions and she's beat me to the punch. That's great because I probably would have forgot because like I said, I haven't had enough coffee today. So yeah, don't use Yahoo, don't use Hotmail, please don't use AOL. When people see AOL, even though it's still in existence and it's actually making a little bit of a comeback, please don't, because all of a sudden people hear that dial tone.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. I immediately think dial up. As soon as I hear AOL, I'm like, I hear that.
So don't do it. Don't do it. Ironically, here's a little tidbit for you though. If you're a Verizon internet customer and you use the Verizon email, AOL actually owns that. They partnered with Verizon on that. So I don't know if it's for everybody, but I know I have a Verizon personal email account. And in order to change my settings, I have to actually go into AOL on the settings side. So it's kind of funny. Funny. It's not dial up, so I don't get that funny sound, but it is kind of ironic. So they are still out there, but don't use them. You can use your providers. Like some people, like I said, I have Verizon. Verizon is very prominent. It is nationwide, so it's okay to use that. All right. But try to stick with Gmail. And as Melanie said, get rid of those descriptive, I'll just be kind emails that have nothing to do with you looking for a job. You can create a Gmail account that is just for job searching and only use that for your job searches so that when you go to that email account, it's job related. It doesn't cost you anything. That's what I recommend. All right. Did I miss anything else, Mel?
I don't think
you're bringing up good questions today.
Here that I wrote. No, I have this little cheat sheet here. And I think of the things that we wanted to talk about. And I think that those were, that was everything on the contact information. So let's go back to what we were talking about before I stopped you, the contact information. And we were somewhere in the 3x3 format.
Yeah, so let me go back. Oh, actually it's up. Okay. And let me go back to full screen. Uh-oh. I think I just lost me.
There you
I have to
are.
bring
Wait,
it back up.
now we have a black screen.
Now you gave me a black screen, Melanie. All right, I'm gonna have to go back and find the stop sharing and reshare. It didn't like that we stopped in the middle of the thing to discuss other things. It got jealous.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, lessons learned. All right, now I gotta find it again. No. Okay. Don't you love when technology just is not your friend?
I heard one time, it's human to error, but to really screw things up, you need a computer.
There you go.
That was on my high school secretary's desk. She had a little magnet that said that.
I know what it was. The internet was trying to boot me off of where I had this. Okay. It's like, no, don't cancel the show. We're just getting started. All right. Now we should be able to see it. Okay, what is going on? There it is. Hi, yay. I sounded like my dad.
There it is.
Okay, there we go. All right, so to show you headline summary core skills, those first three in the proven 3x3, I'm going to use Sally sample, that very first headline or heading contact information that I showed you on that earlier slide. Now, this is to show you what a visually appealing 3x3 looks like, the top three. All right, so we got Sally. There she is. We got her city, state. Of course, this is all generic. Look, she's got a Gmail address. You see that?
Nice work, Sally.
And then we have a heading. Well, she's a marketing director. She's been a marketing director forever. So obviously, her headline would be marketing director. It fits. That's what she's built her career on. Sometimes, though, you need to demonstrate or illustrate what you specialize in or what you want to specialize in. So in her case, she's a brand builder. She's all into branding and program promotion and sales, okay? So we added that. We just added those three in what I call a subheading. It's still part of the heading, but it's, those bullets underneath or those separators underneath to kind of pull out a little bit more of the expertise. So you can do that as well. So again, in this case, brand builder, program promotion, strategic sales. But we don't stop there, folks. The next section is summary. Now you can have a little headline here for that section called professional summary, but you really don't need to. We could have left it blank. I didn't have to include anything. I could have just jumped right into the text. Now let's look at the text. Well, what is the supporting evidence that Sally is this great marketing director, that's her expertise? Mm-hmm. Well, it's the language we use in this summary. You're going to want to tell them how many years experience you have. Now, if you are an older individual, you've had 20 plus years, don't put more than 20, just say 20 plus. You don't want to date yourself and then deal with the effects of ageism. Okay, so don't put more than 20. But then what is your experience in? Well, be specific. Driving marketing campaigns, increasing sales, executing brand promotion strategies. In what industry? Well, health and wellness. What else? Well, she's energetic. You need to be energetic if you're going to, do sales and brand building and those kinds of things. So we put energetic, but she's also results driven. Again, sales, she's an individual who tackles challenging economic situations. When you're in sales, sometimes it's not easy given the current, economic situation. So wanted to add that in there. She orchestrates marketing campaigns that achieve results. That's huge in sales and marketing, right? You want to get results. And then she has that business savvy. She's able to develop marketing copy, articulate, brand identity across traditional online social media channels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, where am I getting some of this information? That's great. I've been doing this for a long time, so it is easy for me to do it. But what about you? Well, here's the thing, friends. You're going to get it from obviously the work that you're doing, but you're also going to get it from the job posting. In the job posting, you're going, let me blow this up. I didn't even realize I didn't have it blown up. Blowing it up. In the job posting, it's going to tell you exactly what the prospective employer is looking for. So you want to use some of that language, be true to who you are. No, don't stretch the truth, I like to say. Stay true to who you are, because you don't want to be caught in a situation where you're using words then you don't actually do that task. But if the job is perfect for you and it lists that they need somebody who can write creative marketing copy, then make sure you highlight that aspect of your skill set. Okay, those are the words you're going to put in your summary, the things from the job posting. Okay, and then again, whatever you want to highlight. If you want to make sure that they know you're a brand builder because you really want to focus on brand identity or something, then put that in there as well. Now, going back to the core skills area. Now, before I laid it out like this, right? You could lay it out this way. You saw it here in columns like this. So we got a couple different ways. Now, here's another way. You could just do it as line items, 2 lines separated by, the line here on your keyboard. I never know what that's called. I just call it a line.
I know. I'm sure there's like a very fancy name
there is some word for it, but I don't know, a vertical line. That's all I call it. But
fancy.
It is on your keyboard. In case you don't know where that is, it's
right below the delete button.
It's right next to the delete on a regular PC keyboard, and it's typically above your slanted line key.
Yes.
Typically. But anyway, back to the core skills. So you're also going to want to highlight things that you specialize in more, again, all supporting evidence for what you're claiming you're an expert in based on your headline that you've noted there. So in this case, Sally, again, is talking about, marketing, multi-platform marketing, strategic forecasting, brand partnerships, public relations, brand repositioning. And you can see, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but put some keywords in there, because that's going to what they call keyword optimize your resume. Okay, so in other words, when a recruiter or a hiring authority, HR, whatever, is searching for resumes, like on LinkedIn, for instance, they're going to do keyword searches. Well, you want to make sure you come up in that search, and that's how you do it. So now this is a very keyword optimized resume, because you've included it in your headline, you've included keywords in your summary, and then you have a short core skills listing. Now, before I move on, I want to talk a little bit more about the core skills. A lot of times I'll see people put adaptable, flexible, a lot of interpersonal skills. It's okay to put a couple, but stay focused on what your true skill set is, because they're not going to be searching for the term adaptable, unless maybe, I don't know, maybe the military does that on some things, like a defense contractor or something. They want someone who's looking for military, who's, adaptable to different situations. But for the most part, they're going to do their searches on core skills. So you want to make sure you have the core skills in there to demonstrate you are that expert in that area.
Right, because anybody can be adaptable, whatever, and totally not have the skills for the job they're looking for. So they want you to put, they want to see core skills that apply specifically to the job that they are trying to hire. It's great you're adaptable, but so can somebody who has 0 experience in the job they're looking for, So yeah, with core skills, focus on that. And one thing that I would like to add right here is, as someone who has not had to create very many resumes ever in her life, that's me. This kind of stuff is very overwhelming, because it's very difficult for me to be like, to kind of boil down and concentrate all of my experience into these little like attention grabbing like keywords or and so this is where I think it's important to mention, if you are overwhelmed and you feel over your head and you're like, I don't even know where to start, I don't even know how to translate my experience into a resume that pops and that is applicable, that is what Janine is for. Okay. That is what we do here at Vision to Purpose. Janine's been doing this for a long time and she's one of the best in the market. And so if you are just like, one of those people, like as I'm raising my hand, who would rather pay someone who does this for a living to do this for you, then, Janine right now is trying to give you the tools to do it yourself. But if that is not something you're interested in, go straight to the pro, man. Hire Janine. You won't be sorry.
Well, I appreciate that, Melanie.
No,
Thank you.
Sponsor that.
Right. We're testing out those sponsored ads. No, I'm just kidding. So Melanie is, she's my strategic communication director, and she's the Jill of all trades. She does a lot of my communication, my marketing, so hence the sponsored ad.
I was gonna say I'm not paid for that, but I'm not paid to for what I said. But for real, this is something that I do a lot of things DIY. I'm like the queen of DIY, but this is not something that I would take on my own. This is something that one of the rare things that I would actually pay to have done is have a resume built. So anyway.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the toughest time people have when they are working on their own resume, myself included at times, is we get emotionally attached to certain things. I'll be honest, I worked at NASA at one point in my life, and there's a couple elements. Now, mind you, the job, that was 15 plus years ago. I'm dating myself a little bit. And there's some elements on that job, some awards I won, that may not even be relevant, but man, I want to keep those on there because emotionally they were some of the most challenging and rewarding things of my life. And I have to always, I just, cringe because I got to take it off. Now, the good thing is when you take things off of your resume, you have two other opportunities to highlight them. One is on a cover letter, which we're not going to talk about today. That we'll save that for another session, but you can highlight it on a cover letter. You can bring it up during an interview. An interview, the best interviews are conversations. And if you have examples, stories, sharing your career examples, use that one. I would definitely use my NASA experience for that. No, I wasn't a rocket scientist or anything like that, but wouldn't that be cool?
Could you just put like
I do have a client whose husband is a rocket scientist. It's so interesting. Anyway.
That's cool. Could you just like on your resume, since you had to like take off the NASA like award thing, just like a hot pink sticky note, just be like, P.S. I got awards from NASA. Just, can you just put that?
No. Good try, Mel. Good try.
Well,
all right. Let me go back to full screen and keep on moving. All right. So that's your first three. All right. So now we're going to delve into, let me make sure. Yeah. So now we're going to delve into the second three items in that proven 3x3. So we're going to start with the documenting experience section. So words that you should use for your section heading would be relevant professional experience or recent career history or pertinent work history. There's a lot of different, the key is you want to keep it recent, relevant, or pertinent because you don't want to go back more than 10 years. I would even say 7 to 10 years. I know folks who are listening who have 20 plus years, myself included. What do you do, right? Well, the reason you only put 7 to 10 years is because, again, going back to my comment made earlier regarding technology has changed the way we work and live. So that means that how we used to do things has probably changed too. You may still be in that same role, doing the same thing, but you're probably doing it differently. You probably have new tools and resources that you use, new software. I mean, think of how many times Microsoft Office changes their Office suite to a new version. Think of Apple and their phones. My gosh, they're up to what, 13, 14 now? So that's why companies want to see the more relevant experience. The last 10 years, 7 to 10 years. It doesn't mean that you have to completely get rid of that. So going back to my NASA comment, what I could do in the other section, which is actually the third of the 3 items in this section, I could list what I call early career history and then just do a one-liner. See the one-liner down here where it says marketing director, wellness hospital, city, that would be state, and then the date. I could put that I was a communication or a change management expert, NASA, and the dates. At least it would be on my resume. And if the interviewer, I get that interviewer, they see that, it could, prompt conversation, or it could actually remind me in the interview, hey, use one of my NASA examples to highlight that great project I was on and the award I received, So you can do that as well. But you're going to want to stick with the most recent 7 to 10 years. Now, how do you lay out the text? Well, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can do all caps, bolding, and then have your city and state with the dates all the way to the right. You could switch it up. If you don't want to highlight the company, you could highlight the position and then put the company below it. Sometimes you have a great job and you've done great things, but it's a horrible company. And you don't want to highlight the company because the company is not very, let's say, well respected. Okay. There's a lot of those out there. So to highlight the job, highlight the role you have, the title. Sometimes you just have a great title and it doesn't even matter if the company's a great company. You want to show that you've made it to a certain level. So then you could put, like I said, the title first. And then just on the right side, it's the same, just another way to show how to lay out, that job description. And then at the bottom, don't be afraid to use color. I told you last week we can use color. So use it. So, okay, I'm showing it on the screen, but let's look. Let's see what it really looks like in a resume. So going back to the Sally sample example, here's her entry. Remember, let me go back up. This is what she looked like. She's the marketing director. She's got her professional summary. We got our core skills in there. Now she's starting her experience section. There we go. I put recent professional experience. Why? Because 2019 to present is pretty recent. It falls within that 7 to 10 years. There's her marketing director. We're not trying to highlight the wellness hospital, which is, a fake name. We want to highlight the marketing director because she's trying for a job as a marketing director. And then there's a little bit of information about the job. I tend not to use paragraph form. I'm going to tell you I like bullets better. But in this case, I chose to go with some informative information about what she does in that role and then highlight the key accomplishments in bullets. So you can either do all bullets, maybe instead of this paragraph here, you could do selected contributions. That would be a good term to use, or selected contributions and achievements, or selected achievements, and then jump right into bullets. You wouldn't need this key accomplishments, then you would just jump into the bullets. And make sure that your bullets are, in line with what the job posting says. If the job posting, we're going back to this marketing example, says you have to use different platforms to market the business, well, make sure you use the language. So in this case, bullet 3 there says used email marketing platforms. Which ones? MailChimp and Constant Contact. What social media platforms? ScentShare, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. What did you do with them? I created engaging social media content for target marketing campaigns. You're getting that language from the job posting, okay? Now, you're using your experience, you're aligning it to the job posting. Do not cut and paste the items in the job posting. Don't do that. Make sure you use your own creativity and use language that reflects both your skills and what they're seeking. Okay? If you're truly an expert trying for that job, it should not be hard. If you can't figure out how to make it work, then perhaps that job is really not a good fit for you, because you may get through the resume process, but you're not going to be able to speak it in the interview. Okay?
Right.
All right. Any questions, Melanie, on this?
No, I think that's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Are we still in the full screen mode? Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
So after we talked about the experience, are we moving on to education?
Yes. So looking at experience, you can see how to lay it out. Be consistent is what I'm going to tell you. All right. So in the next thing, here's education. You're going to lay it out the same way. Great university, bachelor's, what it's in, marketing. If you used color, make sure you're using the same color. Your headings are the same. Be consistent. Okay. There's a discrepancy in this particular one. So let's look back. See if you can notice where I made an error. And this is on purpose, by the way. So if I go back here, what did I do for my experience documentation? I went with, look at that, marketing director in all caps, company not. Now go here. What did I do differently here? I put the company in all caps.
Yeah.
And I put the title, in this case for education, it would be the degree, in lowercase. That could actually be a red flag for a reviewer who has been doing this a while. They're going to look for details like that. Because if you say in your core skills or somewhere in your summary that you're detail oriented, and then you do that, what did you just tell them?
That you lying.
That you, yeah, that you're not detail oriented. Okay, now I did that on purpose. So make sure you're listening to this presentation and not just looking at the examples. Make sure you know why I did that. Okay, it's all about being consistent throughout your resume. There actually is another error in this one. It wasn't on purpose. It was actually a mistake. If you're going to put, oops, right here. See how I have hyphens with spacing? Okay. Here I did not in this example. Just be consistent. I guess it wasn't a mistake. It's more of be consistent. So, oops, I'm going backwards. So here I didn't put it. I didn't put any spacing. Oh, I didn't even include dates here. Well, that's fine. But just be consistent. So in this, I probably should have put the dates just to be consistent with hyphen. You know, make sure it matches. So I lost a gold star myself. Look at that. All right. Any questions? Your education is your education. If you are a newer grad, okay, and you don't have a lot to put on your resume, if you're a newer grad, what you can do, and I love this, you can actually put another section called relevant courses and then list out the courses that align to the job you're trying to get. So if you're a marketing major and you're trying to get your first real job in marketing, you could list all of the marketing courses you had. You know, they have to be focused specifically on marketing, but you know, don't put you had history. It's not relevant. Stick to relevant courses and make sure you state that relevant courses as your heading and then your bulleted list.
Question. Okay. Could you also use relevant courses that are not, because remember a while back we had a podcast on education and how education doesn't have to cost you money. There's so many opportunities. Is there room for something like that on a resume where you can say, hey, these are courses that I've taken the initiative to take. They aren't formal education, but I am learning and I'm training myself in these.
Yes. So just like, okay, so our second 3x3 is experience, education, and other. So we got experience, here's education, but look at community service. That's other. You can have as many others as you want. So in that case, you got two things you could do. Under education, you could do education and training as your heading and then add your training there.
Okay.
Or you could create a whole nother section and put professional development. And professional development, you can list out all those courses you've taken online through Udemy or through LinkedIn. If you're a premium member, if you're paying for the service on LinkedIn, they offer tons of learning resources, which I highly recommend you try out, especially if you're project management, trying to get the project management professional. Take all their courses to prep you for the big exam, you know.
And military personnel, like I know we kind of specialize in military personnel. They do a lot of pro dev. As soon as you're like professional development, all I hear is pro dev. That's what they call it. Pro dev. We don't have time for full words. But, you know, like my husband right now is in Joint Special Operations University. So that could be part of his pro dev, you know, and like the training that a lot of guys are sent to before they go to a schoolhouse, you get trained on how to be an effective teacher. Those are relevant things that you can list under professional development. So keep in mind.
Yes. So in the case of your husband, we could have the title be formal education and additional training, and then have a section within the education section that says specialized military training and list it all out, you know. So there's lots of different ways. I'm keeping it simple because we only have so much time in this podcast. Sure. But definitely reach out to me if you have questions. I do take questions. I don't charge for a question here or there. If you need coaching and you want me to actually help you, then we'll have that conversation. But and check out, you know, we have lots of blog articles where we've covered some of these things. So check out vision2purpose.com and go to our blog. You'll see the blog link at the bottom of our website, and do a search. You'll find lots of information about resume writing and things to include. So great item to bring up, Melanie. Again, other can be anything other. So try to keep it job related, specifically for the job you're trying for. For instance, you could put professional affiliations as one of your additional sections. What organizations do you belong to that could, you know, help you look better for that job you're trying to get? So again, this is marketing. So it'd be great if Sally Sample belonged to the American Marketing Association and she actually had a formal role within that association. That would be good to put on her resume. Okay. I think I've beat the drum on that. Anything else now? Okay.
No, I think that's great.
All right. Moving on to some other important information. So grammar. Melanie, this is a good one for you because you are my editor and my grammar guru.
Yes. I love good grammar.
Yes. And I have a PhD in basically IT. So I don't have, you know, grammar is not always my number one. But when it comes to resumes and whatever, yes, grammar. So if it's your current job that you're in right now, please use present tense. So here's two examples. Present tense, right now, you're in the job. Design and build best-in-class management systems. Past tense, you are no longer in the job. You used to be in the job. And what did you used to do at your job? You designed and built best-in-class management systems because you're not doing it anymore. It's an old job. So make sure you're using the right tense. This is a deal breaker when it comes to resumes being reviewed. If a reviewer sees that on your resume, you're not going to get the job because you're demonstrating that although you may have said you're detail oriented and that you have good communication skills, you just demonstrated that you didn't. So make sure, this is a stickler. Melanie will tell you this is a pet peeve. When she looks at things, you know, make sure that you're using the right tense. Okay?
Yes.
Anything else you want to add, Mel?
Well, this just is kind of across the board. Always have someone else who has good grammar and language skills. Always have them go over whatever document you've created, whether it's like a paper or an article or your resume, because our brains are going to read what we think we wrote. And so it's so easy to miss things in our own writing. Even myself, like, I do this as a profession and I miss things in my own writing because my brain sees what I thought I wrote. So it's always good to have someone else go over your work. So it's even for your resume, or especially for your resume. That's my 2 cents on that.
And that, that is a very good point, because grammar aside, the bullet examples I shared really don't tell anybody anything. And so somebody who doesn't work in your profession, if they were to look at it, it would probably prompt the question, well, what were the best class management systems you used?
Yeah.
How often did you use them? What, you get where I'm going here. It's kind of bag post just to show grammar, but having someone else review it will prompt questions that you need to make sure you answer, because if someone who doesn't even know what you do is asking, then you can be assured that an interviewer is going to ask the same thing. So
yeah, and that's a great way for us, like a kind of informal interview prep as well, kind of prepare you for other questions. But also, again, like our brains see what we thought we wrote. It's kind of the same thing where we have all the context in the world to what we're writing. But when you have somebody else go over it, they're gonna be like, hold on, there's like some context missing here. I don't understand what you mean. Oh, well, what I meant was, because of my experience with this, and this is what this means. Okay, well, you need to communicate that better. I'm constantly telling my husband, like I said, he's in school right now, and I'm going over, when I go over some of his papers, I'm like, not everybody that's reading this knows everything that you know, so that's a good reminder too, is you have to make sure that things are in context. That's about all I have to say about grammar.
Perfect. All right. Big screen again. Let's go back. Okay, so grammar, very important. Also, catch those spelling errors, people. You have spell check. Spell check doesn't catch everything. Again, having that second reviewer look at your resume before you send it off somewhere can catch things that you may have missed. And then next,
you had mentioned certain words not to. Oh, here we go. Perfect.
Yes,
you'd mentioned words not to use. It's tough words.
It used to be that we could say, I was responsible for or accountable for, yeah, don't do that. That is a dead giveaway that you're older. They don't use that anymore. Instead, start with the action verbs. So instead, just jump in right to what you did. So if you were responsible for training and managing and overseeing, well, instead just say I trained, orchestrated, maintained, oversaw, use those kinds of words. The other thing is no personal pronouns, folks. I should have put that on here. No personal pronouns. So don't say I did, we did, they did, no I or me, nothing. Okay. Just jump right into the action verb. It's a statement. So just no personal pronouns.
Right, because it's your resume. It's implied that it's you.
It's you. Exactly. It is you. So they know that. And don't use overused verbs. I had a couple HR managers tell me one time that if they got another resume that said led, managed, supported, dealt, or saved, saved money or led a team or managed, they were going to just lose it, because remember, they're getting about 250 resumes for one job. And if everybody says led and managed, it gets awfully boring. So use words such as orchestrated, chaired, programmed, operated, spearheaded, collaborated. You can see the whole list there. You interfaced, you facilitated, you motivated, you capitalized, influenced. Come on, use some great words, and that's how you're going to stand out. That's how your resume is going to become appealing, not just visually appealing, but appealing to that person who's reviewing it. Like, oh, they didn't use led, they used, chaired or spearheaded. So that will intrigue them. That will make them want to read more. Okay. And that's how using that type of language is how you get them to hire you, get that interview, and then get hired. Okay. All right. And then verbs. So I do offer a listing for free. I have a listing of 400 verbs to make your communications come to life. If you want that listing, because like I said, you want to make sure your words pop. Don't use let and manage. Don't use responsible and accountable for. Avoid them. You know, if you want that listing, leave a comment below or contact me. There's my email address. So you can just send it right to me and I'll send you that listing. Okay.
Nice.
Oh. And as promised, for those that didn't get to watch last week, here's those recommended common fonts. So here's serifs. They're the ones with curves at the end of the letters. You can use those for headings, but don't use them for your entire text because most resumes are read on screen. There's the sans serifs that are should be your text. So as you saw in my example with Sally Sample, I used Calibri. It made it clearer. Now, why the common fonts again? Because you want to make sure the reviewer has those on their system. Although you see Times New Roman here, it's overused. I don't recommend you use it. And I would say use Arial and Calibri more often because even email now is the default is either Arial or Calibri. So it's just a common font right now that most people are using. And then just to show you the difference in size, when you're doing your resume, do not try to cram all the words onto a page. Use your font choices to help you. So as we talked about last week, 12-point font, look at the difference. You can get a lot more words, 12-point font if you use Calibri. If you're a newer grad and you don't have a lot to say, but you want to fill the page so it looks balanced, good balance of white space, maybe you use Verdana. You know, that's the sans serifs, here's the serifs. And then if you need to go smaller because you've had a longer career and you got to fit stuff on a page, look at how the fonts look in 9-point font. Calibri still looks pretty clear. Arial, not too bad. You can still get plenty of words. But Verdana, you're not going to get very much. So this is the difference of what using, you know, fonts looks like. It definitely makes a difference in how you fit words on a page. And then I think that was it. Yep. So going back up before I forget, in addition to don't use words like responsible for, accountable for, don't use overused verbs. Also, do not put, again, the first tip I gave you before I started the presentation, don't put references included on your resume. And the other one I didn't say, but as important point, don't say objective. At the beginning of the resume, it used to be, and I'm going to scroll up here so we get back to the initial resumes without making everybody dizzy. There we go. It used to be that where this summary is, people would put objective. Don't put objective. If you put objective, it's wasted space because what does everybody put when they put objective? They put, I'm seeking a job in XYZ. Well, that's wasted space. We already know you're seeking a job in XYZ because you're applying for our position. Instead, use the space to tell what you're good at. What are you an expert in? And remember, that goes back to what we talked about in the summary for Sally here. We talked about where she shined, where she, just was amazing as a marketing director. That's what you're going to put in here, and you're going to use that language from the job posting. Okay? And see that, don't be boring. You saw the difference in what it looked like between visually appealing and boring. Visually appealing and boring. Okay. All right. Is there anything else we need to cover, Melanie, that I'm forgetting? I know this is just a basic overview to get you hired. There's lots more we could go into that are more advanced, but this should do it.
Right. And we should also mention, not only do you have the option to kind of wing it and try to do it yourself, there's another level of guidance where you can go and Janine, you've created a course, Breathe Life into Your Resume course, that people can actually go and take. Or if they want a little bit more hand holding instead of just hand holding, and they want you to just be like, you know what, I'm just going to leave this to the professional, they can actually hire you to do it for them.
Right, right. Thank you again, Melanie. Yes. So that's all I have. That's it. If you do as I told you, you will get an interview and get hired. That's just how it is. If you present a resume that is visually appealing, is using good language, good content, demonstrating your results, demonstrating your achievements, including those things that are in the job posting, there's no reason you can't get an interview. And then getting the interview is where you're going to shine and be able to have a conversation with the interview that's going to go so well. I just know it, and you're going to get the job. So
Yes.
that's how you do it, folks.
Yes. And head on over to the website, www.vision2purpose.com. And you can find all sorts of blogs and podcasts on not only writing a resume, but also interview tips and headshot tips and anything that you need to know on when you're reentering the job search. So head on over, and we got everything you need.
Very good. Very good. All right. So next week, I'm looking for topics. I'm thinking to do interview, but you tell me. We still have plenty of time to plan, because the week after we're going to jump back into some author stuff. I got an author who recently wrote an amazing book called Carmen's Journey. She's going to come on, Susan Beatty. And then I have a publisher from Celebrate Lit coming on to talk about, a publicity person, coming on to talk about how to market your book, that kind of stuff. So if you want to keep going the career stuff, give me a topic, send me a note. You got my email address. I shared that. And then post it in the comments, something. Get word to me that you want to do this on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever. And we'll do it. Hey, Mel, we'll just do it.
Let's do it.
All right. All right. Well, that's all I have. Anything else before we sign off, Mel?
I don't think so. We'll see you here next week, Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time. All right, friends. Thank you. See ya.